Get the gas out.
Yeah.
Okay, so in 2006, I gave birth to, I should have told you, so just to recap, that was Faye Gwendolyn Rose Fallon, her full name, who I was just speaking about, and now I move on to Shona Renee Anthea Fallon. Little Shona came from nowhere. She really did, and I was so happy to be pregnant because I'd been in a relationship for 2 years, which was sort of different to how I became pregnant the first time. And oh my goodness, I was so loved up in my pregnancy, and with my partner and with my baby. And I had a really good midwife who sort of are seeing, on a regular basis. And actually, I'm kind of ashamed to say, I smoked in my pregnancy. But the midwife was like, well, if you stop smoking, you're not smoking very much. The chances are you'll probably be more stressed. I mean, you don't really hear of midwives saying that, So I think I had a lot of understanding going on actually from her, which I actually do think actually helped my pregnancy. So when the time came for Shona to be born, Faye was born on the due date, and Shona's due date came, and I walked into town, which at the time was I was living in Brighton now, and it was about half a mile into town, and I've been told, that sort of helped you go into labour. So yeah, it did. So then this day she was due, went into labour. My partner went with me to the hospital. I'd sort of said I wasn't sure if I was going to have a hospital or a home birth. Like with Faye, I went for a hospital birth because I was living at my mum's, so it wasn't really my home in a way, and it was my first time. But because I'd done everything sort of naturally last time, I thought, well, maybe I could have a home birth, And I arrived at the hospital, and again, they had there is a big difference between midwives who are been in the job for a long time and those who haven't. And came to the desk, and there was about 3 of them who obviously hadn't. And they said, so I was kept waiting a long time. I mean, this is the NHS, I'm not expecting a miracle, do you know what I mean? Although there's obviously going to be one at the end. But I just thought they were really rude and not very nice, to be honest. Because I said I'm in labour, and they said, well, how do you know you're in labour? So I was like, well, I think I'm in labour then, And they kept sending me back to the cubicle to wait and wait and wait. Someone will come and see if you're in labour in a minute, sort of thing. So then I went back to the desk after we'd been there, I don't know how long, probably about 2 hours. And I said, look, I'm in labour. I've been waiting 2 hours. Can I see someone, please? And they said, why, have you got somewhere to go, lovey? And I was like, yeah, I have actually, I'm going home. You know what I mean? So I got in the lift, obviously with my partner. As soon as I got in the lift, the pains came on really strong. So at that stage, I could have turned around and gone back. But after the treatment I just had, I thought, no, sack it, I'm going home, because I'm down for either or, a home birth or a hospital birth, and I'm not going back there after that. And again, I think there's something about giving birth. No, it's an actual fact apparently that you have to have enough endorphins, you have to feel relaxed enough before you go into labour. I think that thought of right, no, I'm going home was what triggered it to sort of go up a notch sort of thing. Anyway, so went home and went back to watch some football match with my husband. And I remember my husband now, my partner at the time. And we were timing the contractions. You got the clock at the top. If he was here, he'd be able to tell you what match it was, because he remembers what match it was, but I can't flipping remember what match it was, But I know we were timing the contractions, waiting for it to get down to a certain level before he rang the midwife. I think it got down to about 8 minutes. And it was right, that's it, I'm going to go and phone the midwife now. He went to phone the midwife, he came back in a bit of a fluster, and he's like, well, they've just told me off. I said, what do you mean they've told you off? He said, they've told me off because I've come out to ring them. I said, well, what were you supposed to do? I mean, we had explained to them because we didn't have a landline, you know, at the time. And we didn't have any mobiles. So we had explained to them that we were gonna, you know, he was gonna phone from phone boxes. So he'd rung from the phone box and they said, what are you doing? You shouldn't be leaving her. You know, he's like, but what else am I supposed to do? I'm not gonna deliver the baby. You know, you've told me to come and ring from a phone box. That's what I've done. So he came back anyway. They came around really soon. And again, those two, the student and the more experienced person. I have to say, with Shona, it was actually quite an easy birth in comparison to the whole like back-to-back thing. And I can't really recall too much about it because it was fairly straightforward once they came. I think it only took about an hour waiting before, again, I was sort of pushing. And the midwife was lovely and her name was Shona. That's how Shona got her name, because we were going to call her Shannon. But when she came out, again it was like 2 pushes, because I thought, okay, you know how to do this. Just like do one big one, get halfway and then flip her out, which she did. She completely flipped, like she did a somersault onto the settee, and there was Shona Renee, and she hasn't stopped sort of somersaulting since, because she's that sort of personality. She's just like really lively, bubbly girl, and it was lovely. So we named her after the midwife, because to be honest, I didn't really like the name Shannon in the beginning. So I was like, they both start with a sh sound. Can I style it here to get rid of like the Shannon? But she's Shona's never really forgiven me for that, because she reckons she wants to be called Shannon. So it was a bit like one of those things. But and then the most traumatic thing I think about that particular birth was afterwards. My so-called best friend at the time came over. As I said, I wasn't married to my husband, who's now my husband. And I was upstairs like in absolute agony, just given birth, with like the snuffle pup. Oh, that's what we called us. Like we had a little nickname for her, snuffle pup, because she used to snuffle up under my armpit, and like she seemed to want to sleep like tucked up in here. And which probably is quite controversial, and it's controversial to have your baby in bed with you anyway, you know, and then to have it tucked under your armpit and everything. Some people think, you know, if you have your baby in bed with you that something bad's going to happen, but some people think if you don't, something bad's going to happen. So there we are. And anyway, as going back, I digress. The most traumatic thing probably about giving birth to Shona was the fact that my so-called best friend came round, and while I was upstairs in pain, I really got the impression that she was hitting on my partner, and that was the most traumatic thing about it, because he was just completely, well, I've had a baby, you know, not to say he didn't care and he wasn't looking after me, which he was. But at the same time, I'm there like, and I really got this impression, and you know, whatever. So that was like really rough actually, because she was like being nasty to me as well without him really seeing, and I didn't want to like come across like, so that was quite difficult. She bought me a sausage sandwich in the end. But I was like, how can you do that? That was really painful. Yeah. There's Shona really.